This is the second video for the test review of 1.6 and 1.7. So here, again, this is going to be solving non-linear inequalities. We are going to express the solution in interval notation and as a graph. So here, for number 7, we've got two factors of a quadratic already set for us. So we are going to just set each one equal to 0. For x plus 6, we will get x equals negative 6. And for 2x minus 3 equals 0, we will get x equals 3 halves, or 1.5. On the number line, we will have negative 6. We have our 0, and we have our 1.5. These are solid dots because of the inequality there. So we have a solid dot there and a solid dot there. This breaks up the number line into 3 sections. Our test points will be -7, 0, and 2. When we plug in -7 plus 6 is a negative number. -7 times 2 is -14, minus 3 is another negative number, and two negatives make a positive. We need a negative value for our answer, so we do not want anything left of the -6. When we plug in 0, we are going to get 0 plus 6, which is a positive number, and 0 minus 3, which is a negative number. And having a 1 negative will be a negative answer. And so we want to include all values in between the two dots here. And then we test to the right of the 1.5, so we test 2. 2 plus 6 is 8, that's positive. And 2 times 2 minus the 3, that's 4 minus 3, which is positive. 2 positive will end with a positive, so we do not want that section for our solutions. So we have our number line. Our graph, or our interval notation, sorry, is going from -6 to 1.5. These are solid dots, so we are going to use a bracket on both sides. For number 8, we have a fraction here. The numerator is a quadratic that needs to be factored. This has a line underneath the inequality, and we will have, this will be x minus 9 and x plus 2 for our factors. So we've got those factors, and we've got the x minus 2. So we are going to draw our number line. From our factors, we get 9. X minus 9 equals 0 will give us 9. For x plus 2 equals 0, we will get -2. And for x plus 2, we will get +2. So we've got 3 points on the number line, so -2, 0, 2, and 9. So we only have dots at -2 that is solid. At the 9 is also solid. And for the +2, because it's in the denominator, that will be an open dot. And now we're going to split up our number line into sections. And we choose our test points. So -3, 0, 3, and 10. If we plug in -3, we get -12, that's a negative number. -3 plus 2 is a negative number. And -3 minus 2 is a negative number. We want our answer to be a negative answer, and 3 negatives does give us a negative answer. So we're going to shade to the left. When we plug in 0, we will get 0 minus 9, which is negative, 0 plus 2, which is positive, 0 minus 2, which is a negative, and 2 negatives will be a positive answer, so we do not want to include that part. Plug in 3, we get 3 minus 9, which is a negative. 3 plus 2 is a positive, and 3 minus 2 is a positive. So having one negative will be a negative answer. which means we will shade between 2 and 9. When we plug in 10, 10 minus 9 is positive, 10 plus 2 is positive, and 10 minus 2 is positive. All positive will give us a positive answer. So we go from negative infinity to negative 2. That's going to be parenthesis on the infinity and bracket on the 2. We have to have a u to connect these two. And then we start at positive 2 with parenthesis because it's an open dot, and we go on to 9 with a bracket. So there is our interval notation. For number 9, we have to get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply the left one by x and the right fraction by 2x minus 5. That gives me x squared. And then positive 4 is going to be distributed to get positive 8x and negative 20. My denominator is x and 2x minus 5. The factors for x squared plus 8x minus 20 are going to be x plus 10 and x minus 2. So our points on the number line will be negative 10 from x plus 10, positive 2 from the x minus 2. From the x, we will get 0, and from 2x minus 5, we will get positive 5 halves, or 2.5. So we draw our number line. We have negative 10, 0, 2, and 2.5. 1, 2, yeah. So we have all open dots no matter what. So open, 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 open. We have 5 sections to test here. So we have negative 11, negative 1, 1, 2 and 1/4, and 3. So then we've got, we're going to plug in negative 11. Looking up here into these factors and also these factors here. So negative 11 plus 10 is a negative number. Negative 11 minus 2 is negative. Negative 11 by itself is negative. Negative 11 times 2 is negative 22 minus 5. That's another negative. 4 negatives make a positive answer. What do we need? We need positive because our inequality is positive right there. So we need a positive, which is exactly what we have there. So we've got our dot. We're going to shade left. With negative 1, negative 1 plus 10 is positive. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative. Negative 1 by itself is negative. And negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 minus 5 is negative. So 3 negatives make a negative, not what we want. Plug in 1. 1 plus 10 is a positive. 1 minus 2 is a negative. 1 on its own is positive. And 2 times 1 is 2, minus 5 is a negative. 2 negatives will give me a positive answer, so I'm going to be shading in between. When I check 2 and 1/4 plus 10, that's positive. 2 and 1/4 minus 2 is positive. 2 and 1/4 by itself is positive, and 2 and 1/4 times 2 is 4.5, and 4.5 minus 5 is a negative answer. So 1 negative will give me a negative outcome, not what we want, so I'm not going to include in between 2 and 2.5. Plug in 3, we positive 13. 3 minus 2 is positive 1. 3 by itself is positive. 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 minus 5 is a positive. All positives will have a positive outcome. I will be shading to the right. So my graph is done. And now my interval notation, I'm starting from over here with no limit. That's negative infinity, going all the way to 10, negative 10. So all the way to negative 10. That's parenthesis on both. Union from 0 to 2, another union because there's another gap, and then we'll go from 2.5 to infinity. And there's our interval notation. I will continue the last page in another video.